Alright, we've got some time to sit about, get some questions built up, so let's see what questions people asked. First batch of questions from Cutsy. If all animals are giant, are mice and cats still enemies? That depends. That depends on the actions of the cats. And that depends on how giant we are. Like, if there's relative giantism where the giants are all relative size they would be at normal, the cats are probably going to try to pick on the mice, and yeah, we're probably still enemies. If we're all about the same size, I imagine the cats won't be as antagonistic. They'll probably still try to gnaw on the ear, but we won't have to be, dreaded enemies or something, right? Let's see. If you went to eat someone and they waved a white flag in surrender, what would you do? Well, for that one, that's an interesting question for me. I'd probably go to talk to them a bit, and depending on the conversation, may set them free, may just have to eat them anyways. That really depends how they react and how they play the conversation, because they started the surrender flag. They've already surrendered. They may as well be food at that point if they mess up, huh? Maybe kidding, maybe not. Let's see. How do you tell food from ambassadors from Tinier Species? So that one's a difficult one, because normally the ambassadors try to get your attention and try to be loud enough to be heard. If you can't hear them, they're not an ambassador. It doesn't matter what mission they thought they were on, they're not an ambassador if you can't hear them. So, if you're trying to make contact with giants, make sure you have a way to be heard, or you have a building like the one I'm standing in front of to get up to eye level and speak with the giant. Otherwise, you have just successfully became a accidental volunteer snack, which is not good for ambassador duties, I'll say that much. As a giant, do you need more sleep than a normal human? Well, I'm lazy, but I don't think lazy relates to the giant. I don't tend to need much more sleep than usual. As a matter of fact, I may get a little less sleep than I probably should, I'm gonna be honest. But it is handy when I can drift off to sleep when I'm floating planet to planet, so I may be able to sleep for months or years when drifting planet to planet, but, well, I don't necessarily need the sleep. I'll say that much. Alright, and that's it for that set of questions from Cutsy. Let's look up above. 4. You got a batch of questions. If you could merge two different animals to create the ultimate animal, what two animals would it be, and what would be their product? Well, would it be cheating if I said mouse and human would create me? Or, just mouse and mouse would make mouse. I'm not sure what I'm aiming for with the ultimate animal. But, I mean, if I'm going to get cheeky, I suppose it could be a liger and a mouse, because ligers, growth centers they just keep growing their entire life, basically, and it does cause some problems, but a mouse could use all that growth. We will have the biggest mouse known to man. It's taking a hybrid and merging it with an animal that's completely incompatible, but that would be it. The liger mouse. Louse? That doesn't seem right. There's already something named a louse. If you were to suddenly arrested for no reason, your face was flashed all over the news, what would your family and friends assume that you did? Listen. I may have destroyed a few cities, okay? I may have rampaged about cities. I may have, gone om nom nom. There's probably going to be some reasonable assumptions in that case. Let's next question. 4. Once again, more questions from 4. If animals could talk, which species would be the rudest of them all? The rudest species. I I feel like it has to belong to a bird of some type, particularly the territorial birds. But I feel like cats would accidentally get it just for their natural behaviors, or it's like everything's going fine and they just slap something off the table and then just keep on going along, you know? Or any other species that just kind of does its own thing and would probably judge you for no good reason. I'm not sure. I gotta think either birds or cats. And that's not a species, that's like a very broad category. If you were to appoint a president of the internet, who would it be and why? Nobody, because I don't want anybody ruling the internet. I'm gonna say that much. Keep the internet free. Let's see. What outrageous conspiracy theory do you think might actually seem like a logical argument? Oh, conspiracy theories, huh? Well, I gotta love me simulation theory where, hey, we don't have enough to prove it's false, but I don't think there's too much logical arguments within it. It's just like, well, you can't be wrong proven, but you might be wrong still is not enough to make an argument. If you want to argue something, you got to bring proof, and that's where the conspiracy theories, tend to lack. We got flat earth, we got hollow moon, we got moon dragons. Honestly, moon dragons may not have logic, but it's kind of the favorite of the conspiracy theories because moon dragons. And for those of you who lack the context, I'm referring to a video someone posted where they saw a bird fly overhead through the moon's light, and they were like, that huge shadow on the moon, it must be a moon dragon. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about there, huh? Next batch. What was the first game you ever played? What is your favorite game and what is your biggest fear? Okay, what is the first game I ever played? What is the first game I ever played? I think it was actually Mario 1. Because there's a picture that my mom took of me beating Mario 1 when I was like 3 or 5 or something like that. So I played Mario at a young age. Let's see. What is your favorite game? My favorite game, that really depends on when you ask me. Like, back then, in the classic era, I preferred a lot of UN Squadron, Super R-Type, a lot of shoot-em-ups, the side-scrolling shoot-em-ups. If we're talking nowadays, I spend a lot of time playing Nova Drift, and I'm really enjoying Bravely Default 2, so that might be a contender soon. And games like The Binding of Isaac eat up all my time. What's your biggest fear? Well, ironically, we may have a giant who has a bit of a fear of heights, so it's different when my feet touch the ground, so it's fine when I'm giant, but if I, saw the same height without the giantism, I'd be like, I'm terrified. Oh no. That'd have to be the biggest blanket fear. Who do you look up to the most, and what qualities do you love about that person? Well, that's a rough question, isn't it? There's a lot of people to look up to. I got a lot of friends I look up to and I could say a lot about. But if I had to narrow it down to one person to talk about as someone I look up to and the qualities about them that I respect, I would say Sarah, or Sarah Raven Victoria, one of the streamers I've looked up to for a long time, that they put in a lot of work into everything, and they are very sincere about it. They may occasionally push themselves too hard, but, they're sincere about everything. They work real hard about it, and they are just generally a good person to everybody. So that's why I look up to them and try to do my best to be like them. What embarrasses you the most? And or what's been your most embarrassing moment? I'm just embarrassed all the time, so it's difficult to narrow it down to one of them, huh? I don't think I can properly answer that one. That's like, was my most embarrassing moment. I'm full of embarrassment. I am embarrassment incarnate. I don't know. There's just a lot of times where I did something silly and had to deal with it, huh? Next batch of questions. 4 had a lot of questions, evidently. What activities bring you the most joy? Honestly, streaming. Streaming is something that makes me surprisingly happy. Recording silly bits like this makes me incredibly happy. There's a lot of stuff that just makes me happy that I wasn't expecting. So, all this makes me happy. What's on your bucket list? Om nom nom. Nom. Om nom. Om nom nom. You know, a little bit of snacking all over the place, right? But for real though, hopefully I can at least work off the debts I've earned up and make sure that if anything happens, I don't leave a greater debt. Other than that, I want to meet up with some people. That's not exactly a bucket list, but you know, there's some people I really need to meet up with as soon as I get the opportunity, so I'm waiting for that. Who are you closest to within the family? I can't really say a close one, just the immediate families who I'm generally closest with, you know, family in the area because I am close via proximity. Like, I understand you mean like emotionally close, but I am someone who was close via proximity and interaction a lot of the time. Families here, I'm close with them. It is not, you know, family goes off and does their own thing. That's cool by me. They're free to do as they do. If they, you know, need me, they very easily know how to find me. And that's not a real good philosophy for keeping in touch with people, huh? If money didn't matter, what would you do for work? Absolutely 100% my hobby. Like, if I could just get away with streaming perpetually and recording silly bits perpetually, I would do it. I'd have the greatest time. Aside from that, though, if I had to take like a real job or something, as opposed to just my hobby, honestly, it would take a lot of training, it would take a lot of time, but I'd love to act. Or at least, you know, or maybe code. Like, acting or coding games are two things that I maybe could have gone into if I started and committed, and maybe still could go into if I start and commit. But yeah, those are what I might do if I didn't have this. What book has impacted you the most? The Borrowers. The tales of tiny folk living in my walls. I can't imagine what that did to my brain, right? Can't imagine at all, Giant Mouse says as they stare at a tiny building that would probably fit people who look like borrowers to them. Alright, last batch of questions from 4. What's something challenging that you've overcome this year? Well, I know one recent event, but I'm not going to bring up that. So, something challenging that I've overcome this year. Well, there's a lot of work-related things like doing a 30-day assignment teaching first graders virtually. That started out as an immense pain, but by the end of it, I think, you know, some of the kids may have grown attached to the substitute teacher, and they still, every time they asked where their teacher was and I didn't have an answer, it was kind of heartbreaking. So, yeah, probably the month subbing assignment. What do you consider your biggest strength? I don't know. I mean, I am literally big, so I could, you know, crush a building with a single hand or something. Oh, hands. Single hand could just crush a building in front of me, but I don't think that's what you're talking about, huh? If I had to say, it might actually be public speaking when I'm in a presenting type of scenario. Like, whenever I have to present something for a class or a group of people, if I have to just come up with something on the fly or talk about myself, I'm horrible at it. But if I have something I need to talk about, I can talk about it like crazy. And I will be able to get points across depending on how much time I have to practice or think it over. So, presenting information is generally my best strength, assuming I have time to prep and it's not just off the cuff like this. If you could, would you go back in time and change anything? If so, what? You see, if I go back and change something, I might not be here as Giant Mouse today, which is the issue, isn't it? I might be cheeky and sneakily give myself some lottery codes and get lots of money, or tell myself, something small that would pay off monetarily, because then my situation would be vastly improved. But I'm not sure I would want to change any of the major steps I took here. Like, I'm not sure I'd want to change anything that could seriously alter the course of what I do. Just how much money I have when I'm doing it. Because I am content with where I'm at for the most part. There might be a thing or two I would stop myself from doing, but that's not for here nor there, huh? All my mistakes, all my choices, they lead me to where I am now, and I'm content with being here. How does a giant squeak get dates? Well, Ziffy, there's a very simple answer to that. I don't. Yep. That's about it. I don't. Next question. Dream Fox. Can I nom you? Fox? You are very tiny. I could snack on you, just nom 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 nom, and you disappear. So, no, I don't think so. I don't think you could. And I think we have another batch of questions from the person responsible for all the backgrounds and sets, including the one you see here, Kaz. Why a mouse? So that's actually a funny story. I have been a size-obsessed cheese brain for a very long time, and when I finally decided to start using a character and, start doing the streaming stuff, I wanted to implement the size stuff, like giant and all that, all the time. But I was nervous about it, and a mouse is naturally small, so nobody suspects a thing when the mouse is small, so everybody else is giant, right? So that's why I started as a mouse. Eventually, I just decided, okay, I'm comfortable, I shall become giant. And I was still a mouse. And that's it. Favorite anime and why? Honestly, I'm loving To Your Eternity, and it's hard to explain. There's a lot of tragedy in it, but it's also just curious to watch an immortal being grow and become more human and expand out its understanding of its own abilities. There's just a lot going on with that manga that I read, and seeing the anime so far, I think the anime is doing well. So I'm going to say To Your Eternity. Any unusual hobbies? I don't really have much room to collect things. And I haven't had much funds to purchase stuff like miniature ships and bottles and figurines. It might be just, commissioning art and streaming is the hobbies I have at this point, huh? I'm not sure I have many hobbies other than what I just do here. If Big Squeak Inc. had a real-life headquarters, where would it be? So, as far as where it would be, it would have to be its own city. Like, this entire city you see behind me is technically owned and run by Big Squeak Inc. Because, it gets destroyed quite often. So I would figure I'd probably want somewhere further north or further. Yeah, probably further north. Somewhere I could see some snow during the winter months and the summer wouldn't be unbearably hot. That'd be nice. I'm not sure where specifically, but anywhere in the northern chunk of the world would probably be good. um, have you ever had a dream that you want that when you Well, yes, I had a dream that I and then I did, but then that and yeah, yeah. All right. Kira near Itachi or Kiran. Why must you always try and eat me? Well, simply put, you are small and tasty. And then feet. Can I see your feet? I gave you your video response, feet. I am a giant mouse. If I step on you, you go squish. So, beware the feet. And do we have any other questions? It looks like we have one more question. How do you keep your hair looking so good? Well, basically it's just natural hair all the time. I may brush it, I may just let it grow out, but mostly it's just my hair do what my hair do and I have very little say over it. Something like that. And also, that's a big head. From Luke Mott. Luke, I have one thing to tell you. Yes, it is a very big head attached to a very big mouse. Mwahahaha. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, and do we have any questions remaining? Looks like that's all of them. So, thank you everybody who participated and gave questions. I greatly appreciate it. And, well, if I ever do this again, I look forward to the questions next time. Oh, this building is really small now that I'm up close to it, huh? Is like, is that a chocolate bar? That is a chocolate bar. Oh, okay. Peace, peace. I got a chocolate bar to eat. Bye-bye.